Elbow Grease Productions, in association with MichaelJacksonInsider.com, presents
We're talking about Michael being allegedly addicted to propofol. And there's a doctor, his name is Neil Ratner, who reports say, and he says too, that he was Michael's doctor and he's an anesthesiologist and he traveled with Michael during the history tour in the mid-90s. But this doctor was a drug addict. He even admits to falling asleep or passing out in operating rooms while he had patients under anesthesiology. Now, this Dr. Ratner did not ever explain why, what kind of drugs he gave to Michael Jackson. So we don't know, but he said he was treating Michael's insomnia. So I'm imagining there might be another witness because Dr. Ratner lives in New York, and they said that their next witness was coming from out of state. And I don't know if that's him. That's just me guessing that he would seem like he would be a good witness to see if there was a, years of use of propofol. And if Dr. Murray wasn't there every night, I kind of wonder who was giving Michael the propofol, if that was the only way he fell asleep, or some nights he just stayed up all night. I don't know. I'm waiting for more information to come out. Now the defense did allude to two 911 calls. And they asked Alberto Alvarez, "Are you sure you only called 911 once? You sure you didn't talk to a Beverly Hills dispatcher?" And he said no, and they just left it. So that's a cliffhanger for us. Also, I talked to Mr. Flanagan, who is a defense attorney, and I asked him about the witnesses because I wanted to know who's coming. And he said that the doctor coroner is coming, and is that doctor with that long name. And I think he had something to do with the O.J. Simpson case, perhaps. I think I read that somewhere. And he's supposed to be coming, but if the defense attorney told me that, and that's the only witness the defense attorney told me about, I wonder what his role is going to be in all of this. And Flanagan also told me he didn't know who the prosecution witnesses were. They don't tell him very much. And the only reason why I talked to the defense attorney instead of the prosecuting attorney because I had the opportunity, and that's why I talked to him. Now, Elisa Fleek, who is a coroner investigator, she's the one that goes and collects all the evidence. How someone died, because it was a 50-year-old man without any wounds or anything like that. He shouldn't have died. So she went there after she went to UCLA on the 25th, and then she went to Carrollwood, and she picked up bottles of medicine. She did not pick up anything that had to do with anything IV because she thought it was just treating dehydration. It was saline bottles, and so she just didn't bother to pick them up. And I'm going to talk about the drugs that were found in Michael's house, but after I finish this. But anyway, she came back on the 29th, and days later, because then Dr. Murray was, the police had a chance to interview Dr. Murray, and Dr. Murray told them about more medicines that were in several bags in the closet. So she went there to get all these medicines. And there were 12 propofol bottles, and there were 10 other medications that were found in his house. But anybody seeing all these lorazepams and hydroquinones and Flomax and all these drugs would think that Michael was just this huge drug addict. But out of the 11 medications that they found in his house, and I wonder how many medications you have in your house. We all have medications, but out of the 11 medications found at the house, 2 were to treat his vitiligo, which were creams. 3 of them weren't even in Michael Jackson's body in the toxicology report. 4 of them were in Michael Jackson's body, but they were not used properly. They had more pills were left in the bottle than the actual prescription said for intended use. So if it said take 1 a day for 10 days, all of the 10 wouldn't be gone in 10 days. So Michael was underusing a lot of those drugs. And then the lidocaine and the propofol go used together to kind of numb the place and then to give the propofol. So out of the 12 bottles of propofol that were there, only 1 was empty. And 11 of them still had fluids in them. And they didn't, the coroner investigation, Lisa Fleek, did not know how much fluid were in all 12 of those. So I think that's something that's coming later to find out if Dr. Murray was giving Michael a history of a lot of propofol or just half portions of propofol, but they need to elaborate on that more. Then the doctors at UCLA, they also said there was no sign of life with Michael Jackson whatsoever either. They said that they tried everything because Dr. Murray was telling them, do whatever you can, please try to save him, don't give up on him. But they said they never got any signs of life. And I know there was a document that said that there were some signs of life at UCLA for about 30 minutes. They had good airflow or something like that. But they said, Dr. Cooper and Dr. Wynn both said that there was no signs of life in that patient whatsoever. The Dr. Wynn, she was a cardiologist in training. So she was already an MD, a medical doctor, but she was doing her fellowship to finish her last 3 years so that she could be a cardiologist. Now, someone at UCLA did say that they felt a pulse. And but none of the doctors said that they felt a pulse, and they think Dr. Murray said he felt a pulse, but they couldn't recall who felt a pulse. Now, Dr. Murray did not tell anyone at this particular time, the whole day of the 25th, that he was giving Michael propofol, and it was like he was hiding it. He was hiding the drugs, putting them in Alberto Alvarez's hand, as Alberto Alvarez reported, putting them in his hand while he was giving Michael CPR and pressing his chest and handing Alberto the drugs to kind of hide. So right now, Dr. Murray looks extremely guilty at this particular stage of this preliminary hearing. I don't know why, with all this evidence, he does not just cop a plea and hope for the best. But the defense hasn't put on their story yet, and I don't know if they're going to at this stage of the game at this time. Now, they did mention some surveillance cameras, and we've heard that there were surveillance cameras at the house. Now, they said that the police have some surveillance cameras, but they did not elaborate on what it was looking at. Alberto said he didn't do, he wasn't in charge of the cameras. He didn't do that type of security. It was more logistics, preparing for Mr. Jackson to come and go. So he said that there was one in the front and back and a couple other places, but the police supposedly have them, but we have no idea what's on these cameras. Now, Geraldine Hughes did say something very interesting. She said that Joe wants this to be a federal investigation. With a federal investigation, I thought that was strange because I know that Joe was talking to the FBI in March and April of 2009 before Michael's death. And he wanted to have Dr. Tomei and some other people investigated and wondering what was going on with Michael Jackson and what were these people doing to Michael Jackson. And I know for a fact he was instrumental in trying to find out what was going on with his son before the dreaded day of June 25th. Now, when Joe said it should be a federal investigation, we have to remember Marlon Jackson wearing the FBI hat. I mean, what is that all about? I mean, the day after Michael dies, Marlon and Randy are in a car, and then I suppose they went to the taping of Jackson Family Dynasty because Marlon has the same sweatsuit on, and he has the FBI hat, and they're practicing choreography happy as can be. So I'm kind of confused. Did Marlon wear the same outfit another day? And he just so happens to have that outfit on, but why an FBI hat? I mean, these things are pre-planned. There's wardrobe people. Why did he have an FBI hat? And why was Joe talking to the FBI? And why now is Joe bringing up it should be a federal investigation? Hopefully we'll get to the answers to some of those things. So far, there is zero confirmation of any fingerprints, okay? The coroner investigation fleet, she said there was fingerprint dust on some of the bottles or some of the medicines, so she said that they were fingerprinted, but they have not talked about any identification of any fingerprints whatsoever. And we found out on December 29th, which was the hearing before the preliminary hearing started, that they wanted to test fluids in one of the syringes, and that they don't even know who the fingerprint is, and it's been a year and a half, and they still haven't identified whose fingerprint was on the syringe. So I find that kind of a loose end that needs to be tightened up. For now, there's still more witnesses, so we have to hold off on making any kind of conclusions at this particular time. Meanwhile, Dr. Murray, let me tell you what's happening in the actual courthouse. Dr. Murray is walking around the courthouse with no less than 8 sheriffs, eight deputies. I mean, 2 in the front, 2 in the back, 2 on the side, 2 on the side. I mean, once I saw him coming down an elevator, and it was Dr. Murray, and it was like 6 or 8 deputy sheriffs. But TMZ has caught Dr. Murray outside twice this week. Once where he was going shopping at Nordstrom's with just one guy with him. Maybe it was a plainclothes security guard, I don't know. And then at another time, he's outside at the Santa Monica Promenade buying a little girl a balloon. And he even answered the question, well, what do you think about Catherine? Dr. Murray said, I feel sorry for her grieving. I love Catherine like a mom. So, you know, all this is extremely strange. There were rumors that James Brown had introduced Michael, and this has nothing to do with the trial, the preliminary hearing. James Brown is the one that introduced Dr. Murray to Michael, but Tommy Lee, who was James Brown's ex-wife, whatever, ex-girlfriend, baby mama, she said that no, that is not true, that James Brown did not introduce Michael to Dr. Murray, and that Dr. Murray was not James Brown's doctor. So that's kind of out there. Mark Garagos, on one of an interview, did say something really interesting. He said that there's going to be a surprise, that the defense has a surprise. We don't know what that surprise is. Maybe they're going to discuss the amounts of propofol left in the other 11 bottles. I have no idea what it is, but I'm just needed a day or two, and that's why I'm doing this report tonight, Sunday night, so that I had a couple of days to really think about things. Now, I did interview an anesthesiologist, and it's very interesting what he said.
Propofol is a hypnotic. It is a pure sleep drug. It has no pain-relieving qualities.
That's right. He said that propofol is a pure sleep drug. Okay, so earlier reports when they said you're under anesthetic, the media, but you're not really sleeping, you're just out. Well, this anesthesiologist said that it is a pure sleep drug. Well, this is Pearl Jr., and sorry to be so long-winded, but I want to make sure that I put in as much as I possibly could so that I could give you an accurate report with some of my own opinions on them. And I will be in the court every day next week, God willing, and I will do another report. But meanwhile, make sure you keep Michaeling. And all you fans out there, just remember, when we're bickering, death hoax, conspiracy, Dr. Murray's horrible, and we have all these differing opinions, just remember, we all love Michael Jackson. This is Pearl Jr. from MichaelJacksonInsider.com, and I'll see you next time. Thousands believed Tupac did it. Millions believed Elvis did it. But did Michael Jackson really do it? E-movie book, Pseudocide, Did Michael Jackson Fake His Death to Save His Life? By author Pearl Jr. It's the most shocking true story of our lifetime. Order yours today. Go to MichaelJacksonPseudocide.com. That's MichaelJacksonPseudocide.com.